All right, so picture this. It's a sunny afternoon, you're out back grilling, your dog's off leash in the yard, your neighbor swings by to say hi, and then it happens. Out of nowhere, your dog lunges and takes a bite. Not a playful nip, a full-on bite. Suddenly, everything changes. Your neighbor's bleeding, you're panicking, and your brain's racing. Am I going to get sued? Is my dog going to be taken away? What happens now? If that sounds even remotely familiar, or if you're just a responsible dog owner who wants to be prepared, this episode is for you. According to the CDC, over 4.5 million people in the US are bitten by dogs every year, and of those, nearly 800,000 require medical attention. That's a lot of dog bites, and a lot of legal consequences most people don't even think about until it's too late. So today we're going deep. By the end of this episode, you'll know exactly what your rights and responsibilities are if your dog bites someone, whether it happens on your property, at the park, or anywhere else. We'll cover liability, insurance, what to say and not say, how state laws differ, and what could happen to your dog. You're going to want to stick around for this one. Okay, so what does it actually mean legally when your dog bites someone? Well, it depends on a few things, like where you live, where the bite happened, and whether your dog has a history. But in general, there are two main legal theories that come into play here: strict liability and negligence. Let's break that down. In many states, dog owners are held to what's called strict liability. That means, plain and simple, if your dog bites someone, you're legally responsible. Doesn't matter if it's the first time. Doesn't matter if your dog's never shown aggression before. Doesn't even matter if the person startled the dog a little. If your state follows strict liability, you're on the hook. States like California, Florida, and New Jersey, they're strict liability states. So if your dog bites someone in those states, and they were lawfully in a public place or on private property, including your own, you're automatically responsible for any damages, like medical bills, lost wages, pain and suffering, even plastic surgery in some cases. Now let's say you're in a one-bite state. That's where the other major legal concept comes in: negligence, or what's sometimes called the one-bite rule. In these states, the law says the owner isn't automatically liable unless they had reason to know the dog was dangerous. So how would that work? Let's say your dog had never bitten anyone before, never growled, nothing. Just a sweet golden retriever who loves belly rubs. Then one day, for no clear reason, he bites the mailman. In a one-bite state, like Texas for example, you might not be held liable the first time. But if there's evidence that your dog showed aggression in the past, maybe barking at strangers, lunging, or even just acting territorial, that can be enough to say you should have known your dog was dangerous. And here's the twist: even in one-bite states, there are often local ordinances that override that rule. So you can still be held liable based on city or county laws, even if state law seems more lenient. All right, so you're probably wondering, what's the first thing I should do if my dog bites someone? Here's the thing: your reaction in those first few minutes can make or break what happens next, legally, medically, and emotionally. First, stay calm. Secure your dog immediately, either inside or on a leash, to prevent any further risk. Then check on the person who was bitten. Offer assistance like first aid and encourage them to get medical attention. Even minor-looking bites can get infected fast. Next, exchange information, just like a car accident. Give your name, contact info, and, this is big, proof of your dog's rabies vaccination. Most states require you to report the incident to animal control or the local health department. In some cases, they'll show up automatically if the bite was treated at a hospital. Now, here's where a lot of people mess up. Do not start explaining or justifying what happened. Don't say things like, "He's never done this before," or "She must have startled him." Anything you say can end up in a report, or worse, in court. You don't want to accidentally admit fault or paint a picture that hurts you later. It's totally fine and smart to say, "I'm sorry this happened. Let's make sure you're okay, and I'll cooperate fully with what needs to happen next." That's it. Now let's shift gears a little. Let's talk money. Because at the end of the day, if someone's injured, there are likely going to be costs. And those costs, they can add up fast. The average cost of a dog bite insurance claim in the US in 2023 was around $58,500. And in some states, it's even higher. We're talking ER visits, stitches, follow-up care, maybe even therapy if the person has trauma from the attack. So, who pays for that? Usually your homeowners or renters insurance will cover it. Most policies include something called personal liability coverage, and that typically extends to dog bites, as long as your dog wasn't excluded from your policy. Yep, that's a thing. Some insurance companies blacklist certain breeds: pit bulls, Rottweilers, Dobermans, German Shepherds. Even Labradors have made some lists, believe it or not. If your policy excludes your dog's breed, or if you don't have coverage at all, you could be paying out of pocket. That means the victim can sue you directly. And let me tell you, civil lawsuits over dog bites are no joke, especially if the person has permanent scarring or emotional trauma. Now, worst case scenario, what about criminal charges? In some extreme cases, dog bites can lead to criminal charges against the owner. Usually this happens when the dog is considered dangerous or vicious, and the owner was reckless. If your dog was already ordered to be confined or muzzled and you ignored that, or if your dog had a history of biting and you let them off leash anyway, you could face misdemeanor or even felony charges. That means fines, community service, or in rare cases, jail time. And then there's the fate of your dog. I know this part's hard to think about, but in some cases, especially where the bite was severe or involved a child, animal control may require the dog to be quarantined. That's usually for 10 days to observe for signs of rabies. But if your dog's considered a danger to the public, you could be forced to rehome them, confine them permanently, or in rare but heartbreaking cases, have them euthanized. That's why documentation matters. If your dog has taken obedience classes, has no prior history, is up to date on vaccines, all of that helps your case. It shows you're a responsible owner, not someone who let a ticking time bomb roam around the neighborhood. Now let's talk prevention, because even though we're deep into the legal side, the best way to avoid a dog bite lawsuit is to avoid the bite in the first place. Always supervise your dog around new people, especially kids. Even friendly dogs can get overwhelmed, anxious, or protective. Never assume your dog won't bite. That's when people get caught off guard. Make sure your dog's vaccinations and licenses are current. Use a leash in public unless you're in a legal off-leash area. And be mindful of signs your dog's stressed: raised fur, stiff posture, growling, or avoiding eye contact. Those are all red flags. Oh, and one more thing. If you've adopted a rescue or recently moved with your dog, give them time to adjust. New environments, unfamiliar people, and changes in routine can trigger behavior you've never seen before. Okay, so what if you were the one who got bitten by someone else's dog? Flip the script for a second. You're walking through a neighborhood, and a loose dog charges out and sinks its teeth into your leg. What are your rights? Well, most of what we just covered applies in reverse. The dog's owner is likely liable, especially in strict liability states. You can file a claim against their insurance or sue in civil court if they don't have coverage. Document everything. Take photos of the wound, get medical treatment, and report it to animal control. The more paper trail you have, the better. And remember, you can be compensated for more than just medical bills. Lost wages, emotional distress, permanent scarring. They all count in a dog bite injury claim. So let's do a quick recap. If your dog bites someone, don't panic, but don't downplay it either. Secure your dog, offer help, exchange info, and do not admit fault. Notify your local animal control and your insurance company. Know your state laws, whether you're in a strict liability or one-bite state. And above all, be a responsible pet owner. Training, supervision, and common sense go a long way. And hey, if you remember nothing else from this episode, let it be this. Your dog's behavior is your legal responsibility. The law doesn't care how sweet your dog usually is. One bite can change everything. That's it for today's episode of In Plain Legal Podcast. If this helped you, check out our episode on what happens if someone slips and falls on your property. We break down your liability there too. And before we wrap up, one more time, Quick heads up, this is just legal information, not legal advice. If you've got a specific situation, it's always best to talk to a licensed attorney. Thanks for listening, and we'll catch you in the next one.